I thought it would be a really good time to get super real about credit scores and lending. So right now we're going through a contraction in the industry where all of a sudden credit needs to be even better. And lenders are adding extra restrictions or just not even doing loans for lower credit scores. So credit is king right now. So today I want to talk to you about a couple things that I consistently see that I would advise you to stay away from. Now, the first thing is, if your credit score is 500, there is not a loan for you right now. There's not. And that sounds so messed up, but the bottom line is that if your credit score is 500, something pretty dramatic is happening or has happened, and it needs to be resolved before you start looking to get more debt. Okay? Your credit score is a reflection of how you pay back debt. So 800 credit score, they're always paying their bills on time. Everything's perfect. 500 credit score, something has happened. And what happens a lot is I'll get a call from someone, and a lot, I'll say 10 times a year. And it's like, oh, hey, I want to buy this house. And I look at it and I'm like, well, your income's good. And that's great that you have the down payment, but why haven't you paid any of your bills for the last year? Oh, well, I've been really busy at work. But I make a lot of money. Okay, it's super cool that you make a lot of money, and it's great that you have the down payment, but the fact that you don't pay your bills because you're too busy, lenders don't want to give you a loan because your history is showing us that you're too busy to pay your bills. So what makes us think you're going to pay us? And that's not me being mean. That's what the underwriter is going to say. They're going to say, that's great. He makes $200,000 and he has $1 million in the bank, but he doesn't know how to pay a bill on time. And I see this across, it doesn't matter if someone makes $20,000 or they make $500,000. There is a certain type of person that thinks their bills, paying them on time does not matter. And with lending, it's an issue because you are judged. You are judged by your ability to repay. And part of that, that beautiful pie, the ability to repay pie, is how are you with your payments now? Okay? So I want to make it really, really clear to you that paying your bills on time is critical. Okay? It's critical. It's not a joke. We won't look past it. We're not going to look at how much money you make and be like, oh, they make so much money, they're just busy. We don't have the ability to do that. And we probably wouldn't, to be honest. I mean, think about it. Like, I always say to people, like, would you lend money to someone who never paid their bills? Like your personal money, $20. If you know that Bob hasn't made a payment on the money he borrowed from your other 3 friends, would you give him money even if he drives a Rolls Royce? I wouldn't. I'd be like, pound sand, Bob. Go drive your Rolls Royce and get some other sucker. Forget it. And that's the thing. We have to look at your ability to repay. So pay your bills on time. Number 2, debt, like maxing out debt, okay? Oh, credit card debt in America. We love our credit cards. Yes, we do. And I get it. Life is expensive. Everything's expensive. But what can really hurt your credit score as well is if you've maxed out all your credit cards. And as a lender, once again, we look at it, and if your credit score can be so impacted by maxing out credit cards. Like personally, I know that if I have a credit card maxed out versus not, I can see a 100-point difference. That's my own personal situation. It's not a guarantee of yours, but I'm just telling you, in what I see, it is a huge difference between having maxed out credit cards and not. And even if you're like, well, I make the bill, I pay it every month. Well, it shows an underwriter that you are borrowing more money than you have or you ever will have. So once again, that's going to go in the bucket of like, okay, they're saying they can afford this house that's $1,000 more a month, but they have every credit card maxed out. How is this going to work? Okay. So whenever you guys are thinking about this and you're like, this lender's mean, they won't, they're saying my credit score is too low. Just think about it as if it was your own $20 and you were going to lend it out. Like, think about the situation and if it makes sense. So key things, don't max out your credit cards, pay your bills on time, like set up auto pay. There's no excuse in today's world to not pay your bills on time when you have the money. None. And if you're in a situation where you're like, well, it's upsetting because my bill's due on the 2nd, but I don't get paid till the 15th, I would call collect that bill person, right? Let's say it's a credit card B, and I'd say, hey, can we switch my payment date to this as this is when I get paid? And see what they say, because there are certain credit card companies especially that let you set up when to do your payment, okay? Medical collections. Oh, medical collections are so frustrating. And 9 out of 10 times, it's not the people's fault. So here's what happened. This is like the scenario that I see time and time again, and it hurts your credit. So you go into the doctor and you give them your insurance card and they say you don't have a copay. So you're like, cool, no copay. And then you go home and you get a bill for like $25 and it says it's for the copay. And you're like, but wait, Becky said I don't have a copay. Well, here's the thing, guys. Sometimes Becky's wrong. I've had this happen with myself and my son where we've gone into, we always go into the dermatologist and they're like, oh yeah, you don't have a copay. And I'm like, yeah, I do. It's right here on the card. It's $25. Here's your money. Can I please have a receipt? And the reason I want the receipt is because I don't want a medical collection. So in that case where Becky told you didn't have a copay, you got the bill, so you ignored it, you don't get multiple bills, you don't get multiple warnings. Like a ton of these offices are set up where if you don't pay it after 60 days, it just goes into collection. You don't even know it's in collection half the time. Like if I had $1 for every person I've told them that they have a medical collection and they were genuinely surprised, I would be retired, like on a yacht. Seriously, like yacht life, throwing money, it'd be insane because it is something I consistently see. So you're always gonna wanna make sure when you go to the doctor, you know if you have a copay. You can tell on your card, guys. It's not hard. And you tell the doctor, don't count on them to collect your money. Don't think you're gonna get away with a free doctor visit because from what I've seen, you never do, okay? Next one. You moved and you didn't pay the bill because you hadn't changed your address yet, so you didn't get the bill. I can't do anything about that. Once again, you've got to reach out to your creditor. I had someone just this week that said, can you sweet talk the underwriter? No, I can't, because the problem is the underwriter doesn't control your credit score, the bureaus do. And the person who's putting that negative remark on the credit report is not me. It is that company who you didn't pay when you moved. Like, I know who I still owe money to. I don't know about you guys. Like, do you know if you don't know who you owe money to, you need to get a list of every single credit card and utility that you can even think of right now and look up the balance and see who you owe money, and you need to keep track, because the excuse of like, well, I moved and I didn't get the bill. Well, did you owe them money or not? Okay. And then the other thing is ruining your credit for 12 cents. Yes, this is another thing that I see happen. So what happens is, and this happens to really responsible people, which is so frustrating. So I'll have a client who has like a perfect, beautiful 800 credit score, and they pay off their credit cards every month. And I had one gal and she's like, well, I paid off the card in full because they changed what they gave me for mileage. So I switched cards. So I paid them off in full. And I'm like, that's great, but you have 22 lates for a total of $18 now. She's like, what? Yeah. She's like, and I'm like, did you ever get a bill? She's like, well, I got a bill for 5 cents, but I thought they were joking. It's less than the cost of a stamp. And I'm like, did you get another bill? Yeah, it was for like 15 cents and then like $5 in fees. And I was like, I'm not going to pay this. Did you get another bill? And on and on and on it went. So she'd been getting the bills, but she had just thought they were kidding because the bills were so little. And like, seriously, who writes a check for 5 cents? I get it. But when you guys pay off a card, if you get a bill the next month, pay it. Pay it. Like, I always pay over. So if I pay off and close a card and I get a bill for $10, I write a $100 check. You know why? I would rather they have to give me $90 back than I have to write them another check next month. Because that's what happens, because interest is constantly accruing. And that's what no one ever thinks about. They get the payoff, they write the payoff check. Well, guess what? By the time that payoff check is cashed and attributed to their account, between the time of the payoff and that, interest has accrued. There's your problem. Her score went from 800 to 590. Over 5 cents. I couldn't do anything. It was horrible. It was so horrible. So horrible. So you want to watch out for that. The other way I've seen people, is they'll get into fights with their credit card companies because their credit card companies will put like credit protection on. And they're like, I just wanted to do the trial, but then they wouldn't stop charging me. So I'm not paying that. I don't even use that card. And they keep on charging me monthly for that. Once again, guys, you're not paying your bill. So if you have a dispute with them, you need to dispute it. But if you just ignore it because you don't think it's right, it's going to hurt your credit. And there's nothing I can do about that. And sadly, if you go to the company and you say, hey, I never wanted that, I told you that, and you guys are hitting me with lates, it's a 50-50 shot if they'll remove it. Yeah. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have questions or comments, as always, feel free to reach out. The bottom line is, if you're not paying your bills now, You should be looking at ways to pay your bills, not looking for a way to incur more debt. Okay? Seems basic, but that's the key thing to keep in mind. Thanks for watching.